So before you get started with the project, you'll want a couple of things. First is having your script ready. If you've chosen the audio music or the photos you will use and the videos, and we will be using all of these in this example project. So let's get into Adobe Premiere. I'm going to create a new project and name the project file. I'm going to call this basic demo. And for the location, save it somewhere where you will know where it is in case you need to access it later. And we get this totally brand new setup. And up here, I just want to talk about these workspaces. There are different workspaces that reconfigure which windows you see to allow you to access different things that you will need. So right now we're in the learning workspace, and they have this learning dialog here where you can explore some of Adobe's tutorials. Generally, I use effects and captions. And if you click this arrow, you can see more workspaces. I'm on a Mac, but if you go into Window Workspaces, you can see actually all the workspaces available. And this is very helpful, reset to save layout. Sometimes you're moving things around during your work and then you lose track of a window, you're not sure where it is, you're not familiar. You can come back to this resets to save layout to reset that layout. So I'm going to just click editing. This is generally the workspace I like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this folder into this window to import media to start. So I've pretty much organized my folders in a way where I know where I've categorized them, and this is helpful while working so that you keep things organized. If you're dragging things into your project as you go along, everything will just be in like a general bin, and it can get messy. So here we can change the view to a list view, and here I can see that my files are organized in the way that I had organized in my folders. And notice that there are these squares, colored squares on the sides, and this is the label color of the media. So when you drag that into this sequence area, which is the timeline, it will take on that color. So here it says drop media here to create a sequence. So if you do that, it will inherit the, since we're working with video, let's look at this. It will inherit the settings of the video the first video that you drop into the timeline. So this will be 1920 by 1080, and I'm trying to see if it tells me the frame rate. Frame rate 25 frames per second. So if you're okay with that, but notice how different videos may have different frame rates based on how they were recorded or how they were saved. So if we drop this one here, this timeline, a timeline is actually, a sequence is created based on the media file. So it will inherit the name, it will inherit the settings. If you right click this, you will see that here it's 25 frames per second, and the frame size is 1920 by 1080, so it inherits that. If you want to start off with a clean sequence, you can go to File, New, and Sequence. And here you have a variety of presets. So for any standard ones, you can just come into the ARRI folder, 1080p. Generally, I select the 29.97, but 30 is okay too. And the sequence name, I would recommend you name this as the file that you will export this as. So let's call this basic V1. And I like to name the sequence the file name that I want to save this video as, because it makes exporting just one step easier. So if you have your timeline selected and you go to File, Export, it would be Command M here, or just go to File, Export, Media. Right now you can't export anything because there's no media here, but if I select this one, I get a bunch of options. So you see the output name is the name of the sequence. I'll just cancel that. I will remove this. And I'm going to delete this sequence. So you can select it and trash it with the icon, or right click, clear. Or if you have it selected, if you hit the delete key on your keyboard, that also works. And I'm actually going to move this sequence out of this folder. I want it to be accessible at the root folder. So if I collapse all these folders, it should be that I can see it. So what I was talking about earlier are these colors of the media. So if I drag this in here, so here it says the clip does not match the sequence's settings. Change sequence to match the clip settings. So what that means is I created a sequence with specific settings, and it's asking if I want to change those initial settings to match the clip. But I don't want to do that. I want to keep the existing settings that I had selected, and that's what we're going to do. So if I hit the space bar, it will play the clip. And so I keep getting distracted, but if you right click this, you scroll down to label, you can change the label and that will change the color of the clip. So if I drag this clip in here, it will take on that color. So this is helpful if you want to color your clips so that you know what's what in the timeline. If you're working with a lot of clips, it can get very confusing. So let's say all your photos, actually all the photos are pink and all the videos were purple, so we don't need to change them necessarily. But if you wanted to mark, for example, these are effect video clips, so I will right click them and label them as blue. So when I drag them in a timeline, I know that they're not just content footage, but they are effect footages. And yeah,